Hi, in this video I will show you how to put together this Easter egg box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So here's it's just a simple box. It was meant to be something else and I ended up making it just a simple box. I mean, it's an egg box. I mean, who doesn't, it's just to put a nice small thing of candy or gifts or something like that. So this one I used, instead of doing the panels as a pattern, I used panels. I embossed the panels, and then you can kind of tell if I look at the light, I kind of hit it with a little bit of a stickles. So if you don't know what stickles is, let me just reach over here and have it ready for you. So this is just a little glitter glue that I just add to enhance like different areas of the embossed area, and it just gives it's just a simple look. And I did like it solid color, but I'm going to show you with panels that have different panels. And I like diamond because it's a clear, so I have a bunch of clear ones. So this is in my glitter glue holder, so I have them all in there, and I prefer the clears. And what you'll notice too, right here I have my little cheat sheet. So it says, you know, diamond, icicle, stardust. So you can see diamond has a little bit of glue and purple in it, and the stardust and diamond are similar. So it's just a little cheat sheet for me, but diamond I find is the clearest. So that's my little, so we do have that glitter glue holder. If you haven't seen it, just handy to put a couple of your glitter glues, whether they're stickles or not. And then these are the pieces. So it's really simple box. It's just the bottom and the top and the panels. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I already pre-curled them, most of them. So there's 6 of each on the top and the bottom of the panels, and the same for the structure. So I like to pre-curl them so it can curl. I don't know what you call it, burnish, curling. I'm just curious what people call that. I know there's other names to it. If you want to let me know, give me a little comment below and let me know what you call that. You can do it on the edge of a table too, but I like to do, if I don't have a lot of curves, I just like to do it with my hand. And some people use different tools like round items depending on the size. And then this one, I decided to omit the score lines because I wanted a round look. So you're just kind of relaxing the paper. Again, if you know, give me a better word for it down in the comments. That's always helpful. And then, so I already did all of them, so this is the bottom and top. So you can kind of see where the curves are. So there's not much curve here except for right there. So they just pre-fold all the tabs. So it doesn't matter which one we do first, but we're not going to do the panels but last on both. So we'll put those aside. So let's go ahead and start with the lid. So it's basically, they're all the same size, so we're just going to glue them around. So if you're new to this, what I always suggest is to add glue to the first tab. Be careful how much glue you have. Have a little wet paper towel ready. And you can always anchor the first one. Let me show you how you can do it. If you're really versed at this, of course, you can go ahead and just put it together, the tabs. And this is why the kind of training it to be circular helps, because normally there would be score lines, but I wanted it to be smooth, especially since it's such a simple box, really. So I'm just kind of holding that tab in place. Then I'm going to add glue on the rest of it. And you could do a couple tabs at a time or all of them at once. So if you're new to this, maybe you do 2 tabs at a time, because you know you need to do it as fast as your glue before your glue dries. So you want to make sure your glue does not dry, and you don't want glue on the front either. So I have a little wet paper towel ready to clean up any leakage here. So however you want to hold it, get it comfortable in your hand. And you're going to go from the top to the bottom. If you started at the top, go from top to bottom. If you start at the bottom, which you can, go from bottom to top. the key is to get it as close as possible to the bottom and top edges so they fit. So if they're off a little bit, which they're going to be because we're not perfect, it's not a big deal. So that's what it looks like inside. We're not going to hide those tabs at all. We're just going to keep them like that inside. This is meant to be a fairly simple, it's not simple. This is between beginner and intermediate. So if you want to get practice on this kind of thing, I do have freebies, but this is a pretty good thing to practice on. Especially since it doesn't have score lines. So again, we can start there, and you'll notice I add glue all to all the tabs. But it's critical to get this lined up, this first one lined up. But this is because I've done this a lot, so I know how quick my glue dries. And I make mistakes too. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the biggest thing with these kind of boxes is flipping it around until it's comfortable in your hand. And then I'm using my thumb to guide to make sure that this edge doesn't go beyond that fold. So those that are familiar with this, I mean, you can just move ahead. The basic is we're going to put the top together, and then we can put the panels on. And they're pretty much centered, but I start at the, you either stop at the start at the bottom and go to the top. Anyways, I'll talk about that. You can forward to that section if you'd like. But we'll continue doing this. So you can watch me put the rest of it together, and then I'll come back right before we close it up so I can just give you some tips on closing. So this is what will happen to you if you don't get that top anchored, so it comes apart. So you want to make sure that you hold it as long as you need to before it gets adhered. So that's why I stopped. I didn't want to forward through this because I think it's important for somebody that is new to understand when you're dealing with something that doesn't have a lot of score lines that rounded. There is, like this, you do have to hold it for a time to get, in order for me to get the look without the score lines, it does require really holding each tab in place. And then we're going to close it up. So the closing up of this part's not the hardest part as long as you don't rush it. So I rushed it, and so that part came apart a little bit when I was going down. So I like to illustrate what might be a good learning opportunity when I can. So I'm going to kind of tuck these under without pulling it apart. So I always double check too that I have 6, because I've done it where I threw a tab somewhere else and I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I had 5 and I went, oh, what the heck. So anyways, good tip. So this, and I could put it out, I can put all these tabs outside like that, just gently by moving it. So this last part, what I suggest is adding glue to all of the tabs. So we'll do this on the bottom too. So I'll only show you this once, but you'll be able to watch me do it on the second one. I'll probably be talking. So I'm just going to gently, and if you need to, just get that top part under without pulling it apart too much. That's why I like this paper. So we're just going to go ahead, I'm going to get these lined up. So I'm going to start at the bottom here. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to line that bottom up. Get it in place. So you can do it either way. And then I'm just going to guide them into place as I go up. You could do it from the top as well, but I find when you have a tip like that, it's harder. So just make sure the glue doesn't dry before you get there, so be really loose with it. I'm kind of pushing that in on the top. So there's a little finesse when it comes to this last part, and I'm just kind of moving it around. So if it doesn't come together the way you like it and you want to dress this up a little bit with the panels, see with that little gap, which is okay. I don't mind the gap on the top. I could have done it a different design way, but I decided to just do it like that. But a lot of people put like little, like a little, how one would say, a decoration or a bow on top and then you can hide that. So that's one way you can add additional items up there, whether a flower or a couple flowers up there to dress it up. So it's up to you what you want to do with it. So now we're just going to take those top panels and just place them on. So what I would suggest that you put them on the same way every single time. So where I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to lightly, I don't want to put the glue too far to the edge here. I'm going to start at the bottom edge so I can eyeball where it's going to be every time. So it's centered on the left and right. So I'm going to hold it like this. And the reason I'm doing that is that if you start from the top consistently, then you can do the same thing, center on left and right. But I want to kind of consistently keep the space down there. And then you can I'm just getting glue off my fingertips. Make sure you rub it on. If you want, I'm putting glue pretty much a coverage of it, but you could always put a little glue like that at the top on the panel and then at the bottom and let it kind of go around if you want to do that. That's up to you. That's another option. But I'm going to continue putting these on. And I like to put, like I said, I'm giving glue coverage. Again, I'm starting at the bottom and I'm just making sure I'm putting the same spacing on the bottom as I did the previous one. But also centering on the left and right. And so I'll finish these and then I'll come back to show you the next step will be the bottom part. So here's the lid. So yes, it has a little like indentation at the top, but look how cute that is. I just printed that digital paper out. I'll have to find out where I got it. I think it's either Creative Fabrica or what do you call it? Well, I can't think of it. Designbundles.net. So, but it's cute. I enlarged it a little bit before. I just printed it out on my printer and then cut it. So here's the bottom part. So it's pretty much more the same. So I'm just going to show you how to put together a couple, and then I won't bore you with the entire assembly up to the end, of course, and I'll show you that. So the same thing, you want to go ahead and anchor the top. This is much easier than the lid. Just make sure it's lined up so this edge doesn't go beyond the tab fold, and then it's lined up there. Get that first part anchored. There's not as much curve, so it makes it easier. So I just go tab by tab, making sure that it's lined up. Just running my thumb over that, making adjustments to line it up. And just kind of gently, when it comes to the curved part, moving it down, getting it into place. And there we go, that last part. So that's what it looks like on the inside. So we'll do one more. Again, if you just want to start with one tab, you can. So here's the one tab. Once you get used to your glue and the paper you're using, you can judge how many tabs that you will put the glue on. If you want to stick with just anchoring one, which this is the safest way, by the way. Even I catch myself going too fast when I put glue on all the tabs. So we'll continue. So I'm just gonna, after I just hold that tab and add glue to the other. So if you do like these projects, I always ask if you could give me a little thumbs up below and or subscribe. And if you do subscribe, if you hit that little bell, it'll let you know when I have a new video, whether it be tutorial or new project like this. So it just keeps you informed. It'll show up in your notifications. I just appreciate people supporting me. So, and if we have when we have freebies, because we will, we have freebies on every launch usually. At most times, I should say. I can't always get to it. Life hasn't been so accommodating in this 2021 with a couple beginning of the year issues. But just looking up. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and add the rest of them. So again, make sure that they're pre-curled or burnished or whatever you call it. Again, let me know what you call it down there in the comments. That'd be great. And we're going to do the same thing. Go ahead and continue it. And then I'll show you right before I get to closing it how I close this one. So we have them all together. I made sure I had 6 panels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is much easier than the top. So we'll go ahead and add, you could just anchor the top piece if you wanted to do the rest. But I always find with closing these things that it's just easier to make sure they're good and folded, your tabs are folded, but it's easier to put all the glue on the tabs, depending on the size of the project. This is a rather smaller project. So I'm just going to make sure your tabs are folded inward so none of them get glued in before you're ready. So I'm just getting that first one lined up. And actually, this one's fairly straightforward. If there's more of a curl, you'd want to anchor that bottom one too, but because this is not as rounded, you can go from top to bottom. And to keep those edges from coming up here, just make sure you have glue coverage all the way to the edge of that tab. That'll help that, and holding it long enough. So that's it to close it. Then we're just going to add these curled panels. So the bottom part goes on the bottom. So this time, to make sure that, just make sure that that's glued. You don't want to start before it's glued. To make sure I have the equidistance on the top and bottom, I'm going to start at the top. You can see it almost goes to the bottom. So I'm going to line it up on the top first and then glue it to the bottom. So again, that's just like the lid. It's just so we can, I'm centering it left and right but it's so every time I put the next one on, it's pretty much I can judge what the distance is better than if the bottom's harder for me to see. And if you're a little bit off, if you started from the bottom one up and you were off, it's going to be noticeable on the top and the bottom. So if you mess up on the top, on the bottom it won't be as noticeable. So that's the reason. It's always the mistake factors that come into play when I decide which way I put things together, because I make mistakes. I don't know about you, but I make a lot of mistakes. I drop things, I glue things wrong, I get a lot more done if I didn't do that all the time. So I'm going to finish putting those on, and then we'll put the bottom piece on. So let me finish that, and then in just 2 seconds we'll be to this part. Look at that, wasn't it fast? Put it all together. Okay, so the bottom, what I'm just going to do is we're going to put one panel on the inside and one on the outside. The reason I'm doing that is, even though you can see all these little tabs on the inside, they're almost like a pattern-like, but these bottom ones on the inside, if you put a gift, at least you won't be able to see those. So that's really the only reason I'm doing that. Otherwise, you could just use one bottom piece. So what I would say, I'm pulling this all up, I'm going to add glue to all these on the inside. Also, this will allow you to have a heavier little gift inside. So I'm adding glue on the inside of all these. So I'm just going to fold them down. Put the texture side up for the inside. I'm just going to line them up. So what we're doing is lining up each of the sides, so you can see it lines up really easily. Now I'm just applying pressure. Make sure it's lined up properly. Lines off a little bit. And you can push in those edges as you go around on the bottom. And then we just can go ahead and add this bottom piece. Easy peasy. So this would be good for just a simple, it's an alternative way to have like an Easter basket, a little mini Easter basket. Put that upside down. Just make sure I'm using textured paper, so I'm making sure it's facing downwards. So now it just cleans that up. And once you get it in place, you can go ahead and apply pressure inside. I usually just go around the edges a little bit. That's it. I hope you like this project. Let's put this lid back on here. You see, it just goes like that. So you could add like a little flower or something like that. It was, like I said, it was another project idea I had that didn't come to fruition, so it actually turned into this. Slightly different. I might try that idea again, so I'm not going to tell you what it is, but anyways, and it just comes off really easy. So here are the two different flavors again, with the printed paper pattern on the side and embossed. So again, if you like this project, go ahead and please give me a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. And thank you so much for watching.